Hello, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. Are any of you really energy sensitive? Do any of you consider yourself an empath? Well, I do. So, this is why I love astrology. This helps me make sense of the world and the energies that are going on around me. And I'm hoping that my interpretations can maybe help you find some peace and some groundedness and maybe some new directions in your life and maybe some things that have been unable to surface or you haven't been able to articulate, and maybe I can help you put words to it today. So, I tend to feel things a lot more than I can say things sometimes. So, having the words maybe of someone else helps me put things into perspective. So, that is my goal for all of us today. And we're going to talk about the new moon, we're going to talk about Venus, we're going to talk about Mars, we're going to talk about Pluto, and I hope that you're up for an interesting and loving conversation today about inspiration, about growth, about intention, and the Taurus kind of invitation that we're going to be setting this month and for, the next 18 months as well. So, why is Venus retrograde important in this new moon? Well, this new moon is in Taurus, and Venus is key in Taurus. Venus is what we call hosts the sign of Taurus. And she has been doing this retrograde dance in our lives. And retrograde means that she's been kind of going back and forth over things for us. We've been kind of reevaluating things. And so I want to talk about that and address that that's going to be part of this new moon and this new moon to set seeds and our intentions moving forward. But we also have this other dynamic going on, which this Mars and this Pluto that are opposing each other, and that's coming into aspect over this next month, and but we already feel it building. And a T square, and that's fixed energy, and Taurus is also fixed energy, and this opposition between Pluto, the planet of action and will and drive, and the planet Pluto of deep obsession, sometimes transformation, death, rebirth, bringing things up from the depths, and they're opposing each other. So there's this pull of things there. And then this aspect between Pluto and Mars is now in what we call a T square. And the new moon is at what we call the apex of this. So once again, this aspect is also very pivotal and it as an underlying layer of what is going on in this new moon, and how can we deepen our layer of an intention, since a new moon is a seed setting time where we're in the dark. There's kind of all the lights are off at this time. It's when we can really take time to sit with ourselves. So I want to try to honor the whole story of this journey that we've been going on, and hopefully help you to embrace the Taurus area of your chart, and that these themes that are going on in all of our lives at this time, and how we can best express that. So Venus is our planet. Let's dive into this Venus retrograde. Let's dive into this invitation that we have been on and this journey of self-discovery, and since March 2nd, Venus went retrograde in Aries. And this journey isn't going to end until May 16th, when she comes out of this area of our lives and starts a new path. So we've been invited to revisit this area of our lives and to reassess our values, reassess money and all things attributed to money, maybe how we attract money, maybe our relationships and our relationships with money, or our relationships with others. Venus can represent our love language. Venus represents our love for ourselves and our self esteem as well. Venus can sometimes represent where we're seeking validation from others, and it may have to do with self love, self esteem. And more importantly, Venus is to do with our values. Do we really know what they are? And when Venus started out on this journey of retrograde, she was in the sign of Aries, the sign of passion and courage and independence and initiating change and taking charge and leadership and assertiveness, sometimes conflicts and anger, maybe even aggression, but even asserting ourselves in maybe even our sexuality at this time. And then she moved back into Pisces. And then Pisces, when she was backwards, we were into our subconscious and our dreams, and we were invited to be more compassionate, and we might have sensed a little bit more intuition around these areas of values and money and how we attract others and love. And we may have felt more deeply in love with all of our values, or felt at this time, how could we be in touch with more love, more self-esteem? It kind of brings out a little, instead of Venus being soft when she's moving forward, she's moving backward. So she may have been a little bitchy. She may have been a little irritated, a little, reflective, and not able to attract in the way that she's always been able to attract. And the retrograde is the invitation to reassess, reevaluate, remind ourselves of our values. So she's been doing the dance, and she's now in Pisces at this new moon, and she's conjunct Saturn and the North Node and Neptune, and it's bringing in all more of a mysticism to it and a reality check sometimes. But there also may have been new opportunities that kind of came out of the blue, and new people that came into our lives that are going to help us on the next part of our journey. So where in our lives have we been reassessing our values and our money and our relationships? And where have been we reassessing how maybe renegotiate these areas of our lives and our love language that's also within ourselves that helps us build our self-esteem? Are we seeking validation from others, or are we seeking self-validation and living into our values as the core of what we want at this time? So I feel that's what the Venus retrograde journey has been. And she's going to be switching back into the Aries, into where we can take courage with what we have learned at this time, and we can have independence within our relationships and with our values. And we've really taken the time to maybe learn through love and compassion, and maybe even we've been a little bit more creative with how we've been spending, or we've reused some things, or we went shopping in our own wardrobe during this time, or we weren't feeling comfortable in our own skin and we had to reassess why that was. So as we're going back over a lot of these places in our lives that Venus has been going through since March 2nd, on April 30th, on Wednesday after this lunation, which is Sunday, we may feel a sort of shift out of the dreaminess of the Pisces and into the fieriness of the courage. And we may see some more assertiveness and aggression. But remember that other aspect that we talked about with the Pluto and the Mars opposing each other now. So let's take time to honor our Venus journey for a moment. I'm also a Reiki healer, so I'm going to send you some loving Reiki healing energy at this time for your Venus journey. Change is never easy or fun, and we've probably been resistant to it in some ways. highest good. How can we bring this in for our highest and greatest good, my loves? All right. Thank you. Now, now let's dive into this T square, this pressure cooker, this undercurrent. And it's kind of being seen in the collective right now. We have a lot of Mars, which is drive and action and aggression and conflict. And it's in the sign of Leo, which is about pride and recognition and identity and sometimes performance and even drama and self-expression. So, and Leo is a fixed sign as well. We have this fixity to it, this resistance to change and to this and an opposition is a pull. So then we also have Pluto, which is the planet of power and the planet of control and sometimes obsession, death, rebirth, manipulation, transformation, where we may find ourselves obsessed sometimes. And it's in the humanitarian sign of Aquarius. So it may be we may be feeling and seeing it come across in ways that seem friendly. And we may be finding it in friends or groups we may be seeing this in. And it may be about ideas and our beliefs may be being challenged and our intellectual concepts may be seen there's an opposition between these going on between groups and ideas and beliefs and if you just turn on the news we can just see this polarization in our collective at this time, and we can just see this pressure cooker of energy cooking, for lack of a better term. And I need to take a deep breath with that. Let's sit with that for a minute. Where's that happening for you? Can you feel that in your life? Can you feel the pull? It's intense. It's okay to honor that. And it may not be happening to you directly. It may just be something that you're witnessing. And maybe you're supposed to be that supporting role. The sun and the moon are the most intimate planets. This must represent ourselves and but it's how is the external world affecting our internal world? How is what we're watching and seeing, is it touching that? And then Taurus is very sensual. So the Taurus moon feels all of it in its body, and it's a visceral reaction. And it may, one of my favorite astrologers, I forget who, but one of the most favorite reactions sometimes of Taurus initially is just no and stop. And so we may have this feeling of digging our heels in at this time, but we're seeing the toxicity and the aggression and the change. And are we contributing to that? Or are we here to transform that? Are we here to sit more into the positive aspects of this? Are we going to be more into fall into the trap of temptation? Are we going to fall into our fixations and our deep need for trust? But if we don't have self-trust, who can we really trust? And at this time, the values and our possessions may feel trampled on or challenged at this time, and we need some reliability and some stability. And are we sitting in that fear and that creating emotional storms and emotional crises in our lives? Are we discovering what's hidden, and that's bringing around our attachment to things? What's bringing around our desire to have deep emotional connections and to feel it all? But are we using the sensual side of Taurus? Are we also stopping to honor that? So this pull is intense. And it may be that we see it at work. It may be that we see it in our friend groups. It may be that we see it in our family. It may be happening, the internal pull may be happening within our own mindset. So this can be a powerful time. We can see it in such ways as our mindset, and it is a powerful invitation. And are we taking time for reflection? Hmm. Let's take a minute and honor the pressure cooker that may be building inside of us at this moment. So let's dive into the Taurus new moon, the invitation that's in front of us. The new moon in Taurus is happening on Sunday, April 27th at 3:31 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. Now, Taurus is a fixed earth sign, and Taurus is hosted by Venus, as we mentioned earlier. And fixed is about stability and attachment, remember. And Taurus is attached in the material sense, and love finds a sense of security through attachment and the material world, and tangible and like physical kind of security as well. And Earth kind of values tradition, and it is loyal and values commitment. And with Taurus, there's a sensual appreciation of life and of beauty and of living. And it has once again a need for that security. There's a potential for over attachment with Taurus energy. There's a practicality to Taurus and resourcefulness and a need for structure and routine as well with earth energy. And but the invitation is also how to cultivate some flexibility, how to cultivate the balancing stability with change. That's, if we don't change, we grow stagnant too. So how can we use Taurus determination and our will to do a step by step action to bring in the positive outcome that we desire? But how can we do it and avoid the extremes and the black and white at all? This is a time that we can stabilize our goals and slow down and ground into them. We can, when with this fixed earth energy, when it touches it brings in more tactile sensual pleasures as well, a practicality. Taurus energy is about the physical senses of life and sensuality and that tactile enjoyment. How can we embrace the sensual side of life right now? I mean, I live in Northwest Ohio, and this time is just so alive outside. We've got, each day's like an adventure. We don't, we've got trees blooming right and left and buds coming up. And you wake up one day and a new tree has leaves and new scents and smells. And the next day it's 30 degrees and rainy and windy and cold. And so how can we honor all of that and realizing that That is the spring invitation. You know, the wind moves the pollen around, and how can we honor this Taurus time and embrace that and stop and smell the roses a little bit and maybe indulge ourselves in massage? That doesn't mean we have to go and pay for it. How can we bring some oils into our life and put a little essential oil in it and massage our feet? Just massage our legs, massage our partner, create connection. Taurus energy loves life. There's appreciation and gratitude with Taurian energy. There's the simple physical pleasures of life. It, I mean, just look at nature right now. It's so alive. In Northwest Ohio, once again, this is also the biggest time that we have what we call the biggest birding week. We have the biggest influx of birds that come through our area in the beginning of May. And it's just fascinating to see, and it brings in people from all over the world. So how can we appreciate that? Where can I bring in more appreciation and gratitude? Maybe we can step out in our community and go birding this year. How can we appreciate the beauty and the abundance of the springtime in this season? And remember, this is a new moon. These are intentions that we can set with ourselves and use this Taurus energy. Self-worth, values. You know, Taurus has an awareness of personal needs and setting boundaries with it within the personal needs, and it has a strong sense of values and determination, and how can we have more acceptance? Do you tend to undervalue yourself? Do you know how to state what your needs are? Do you know what your needs are without attachment to results? That's a tough one, isn't it? How can you encourage people to support you or encourage support in others? Do you know what your values are? Do you live into your values? Can people knock you off your rocker because you forget who you are? You forget what your values are? You're living in a state of fear because your material possessions or your sense of security or self security feels threatened in that moment. Well, Taurus energy is also reliable. It can also be patient and dependable. There's a level of trustworthiness there. Are you keeping your word? More importantly, are you keeping your word to yourself? How can you honor yourself by keeping your word to yourself, to others? How can you honor some steady progress? We just need steady progress. We just need step by step. How can we honor that? You know, how can we have gratitude for that area? How can we find the simple pleasures in life once again, and that trustworthiness that we're in the right place at the right time? Now, we may get triggered at this time, like we were talking about earlier with that T square, with that inflexibility that's in the air, with that fixity, that nature, that also the wanting to feel special and versus I'm just ordinary. Maybe there's some, pull of like some authority figure, being that aggressive person in your life, and you're seeing the toxicity in your coworkers. But how can we own our inflexibility when we're witnessing something like that? Are we only seeing one side of the situation? How are we leaning into stubbornness and an attachment to things? Are we overly attached to a perception of who we are? Are we overly attached to our home and our material possessions? Are we overly attached to our goals? Are we overly attached to an ideal or a philosophy or a way of approaching the world? Where are we resistant to change? How are we being too stubborn in that area of our lives? How are we getting in our own way with that stubbornness? Taurus is also about ownership, but I believe it's also about self ownership and self possession and self comfort. But that can also come through planning and financial independence and from having a home and roots. So if that's something that's important to you and that's within your values, are you taking action in that way? Are you putting money aside to find that home? Are you investigating the neighborhood that you want to look into? Are you slowing down and finding the time to sit with that and know if that's really in alignment with your future and with your goals and who you are? Once again, Toledo, Ohio. This is a fantastic place to live. We're close to Detroit. We've got great cities in Ohio alone: Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati. We've got Chicago less than 5 hours away. We're very centrally located in this area. We've got Detroit Airport. We've got Toledo Express. We've got ways that we can get around. We've got Amtrak runs right through our city. So we've got 75. We've got the Turnpike. We've got easy ways to travel by car. So how can we explore that as well and know that where we live is also that living here in Toledo allows us to have that flexibility because the cost of living compared to other places in the country is fairly low and it's easy to travel from here. So is that something that's in your long-term plan or in your values? Is traveling in your values, or does that need to be part of your budget? So, or is it just owning a home, having stability, building foundations? So, how can you build more foundations in your life right now? What are your long term goals? How are you going to bring that perseverance into your life with these intentions that you're setting? How can you be more present and persistent and feel gratitude and appreciation when you're doing that for yourself? How can you take the time to stop and appreciate yourself? What actionable steps are you taking to get your progress? What can I take to get there? What where in your life aren't you being consistent? Where could you have more thoroughness? Where could you slow down and dig in a positive way? And how can we embrace the slowing down process and not rushing through to get to the next step so that we build that solid foundation? What does a solid foundation look like? What even is a solid foundation for you at this time? Those are some deep, deep intentions and things to sit with as well. So now I'd like to go over my forecast for all 12 signs for this new moon. We're going to touch on the Venus retrograde a little bit and also the Mars Pluto opposition, which is creating a T square to this lunation. Remember, Venus is the host of the new moon. So, this is why these are kind of key placements that I have chosen to talk about today with our forecast and maybe how these are affecting you. To get the best interpretation for this forecast, I believe that we go into our rising signs. If you are interested in a PDF of your natal chart, I have a link below to a jot form that you can just fill out with all of your birth information, and I will gladly email you a PDF of your natal chart so that you can easily discern that the first house is your rising sign. And that's kind of what we're going to lean into. You're also welcome to look at your sun sign, which may add another layer of interpretation, and your moon sign as well. And that's going to be a little bit more subconscious. Maybe I'll help put words to it for you. It's kind of maybe ineffable at that time, or a little like more of a feeling, gut instinct kind of nature, and not a all the way knowing in a sense. I do thank you for joining me. I hope that this gives you some insight. This is for Aries and Aries rising. Aries, this new moon in Taurus is happening in your second house of money, values, earned income, your mindset around money, your innate worth around yourself, Aries. This is a great time to plant seeds to about things that you're attached to, your mindset about how are we going to possess or hope to own something in the future. I feel that there's a building a foundation around your money values at this time. There's a building a foundation and a thoroughness and a preservation about what do you want long term and what can you change in your little day-to-day spending that may help you in this area of your life, and what little intentions can you set that are going to bring you the material comforts that you desire and bring you a sense of ownership over that. And I feel that setting, where can you find gratitude for the money that you are able to earn at this time? Where can you find gratitude for that enjoyment of the beauty that your material resources are able to bring you at this time? And maybe spend your money on some essential oils and some good food at this time, or work that into your budget so that's a plan for the future. Plan a date night with your husband, love, or boyfriend of that nature, girlfriend. Sorry, I didn't mean to put gender on something there. My apologies. Reprieve, then the next part of your journey is going to continue. And be so grateful for what you've learned. Take care of your body. I would really recommend some self massage and some self care and maybe some meditation with essential oils and things of that nature. So I hope you're doing well, Aries. Taurus. Taurus rising. This new moon in Taurus is happening in your first house, your house of self, personal reality, your outlook on life, how we bring out your personality and you approach the world, your physicality, your vitality. So this is a wonderful time to put themes and to intentions towards your enjoyment of life, your self-worth at this time, your reliability, and also your inflexibility of things that are surrounding you. Your Do you tend to undervalue yourself? How can you state your needs once again without that attachment to the results? Where can you find gratitude and appreciation? How can you do things that are going to maybe change your outlook on life and find the enjoyment of life in each and every day? Taurus rising, it's very important for you to you're there for people. You're persistent. You show up. You've got those that dependable energy about you. But do you create that people depend on you too much, that they don't get to use their own sense of self? And are you attached to those results? Are you attached to them feeling good? Do you use that same persistence and awareness of your personal needs on yourself? How can you do that at this time? How can you set intentions for that? Many blessings, Taurus rising. Happy new moon intention setting. Gemini rising. This new moon in Taurus is happening in your 12th house, the 12th house of past lives, karma, sacrificial service, hospitals, institutions, behind the scenes actions, meditation, retreat, our unconscious, our subconscious, hidden places, and our literal dreams. So there may be building new foundations in this area at this time. We may be called to find our material comforts within our spiritual side of life. How can we sit into working behind the scenes, planting seeds, embracing spirituality to bring out the more sensual side of ourselves? How can we bring out the more enjoyment in our lives through appreciation and gratitude? And Gemini, you love that communication and how can you maybe journal? Maybe how can you get all of those thoughts out and know where does your self-worth? What are your needs? Where are your personal needs at this time? How can you state what your needs are? Do you know what your values are? Do you live into that, Gemini? Do you communicate that without any attachment? And when those needs don't get met, do you react, respond, or do you make sure that you meet those needs yourself? So the invitation is to find the patience and the dependability and the trustworthiness within yourself and your spirituality and where are you finding some resistance in that area of your life? Where can you find some persistence instead? So, Gemini, there's a big invitation for you at this time. I hope you're doing well. This is for Cancer, Cancer rising. This new moon in Taurus is happening in your 11th house of friends, groups, memberships, humanitarian pursuits, social media, your social support, even social recognition, and your hopes and dreams. So, this is a great time to set intentions of building new relationships in these areas. How can you have some new material comforts and ownership over friends and groups or humanitarian pursuits at this time? Where have you maybe been feeling that your self worth has been challenged in these areas? Where do you feel that maybe your enjoyment of life? How can we find more gratitude for the friends that we have? How can we find more gratitude for having self recognition and being more transparent and more authentic and enjoying life? Maybe we're reassessing how much time we're spending on social media and realizing that we need to actually feel into life right now. How can you honor steady progress within these new groups? Where can you bring in more patience and slow down on your hopes and your dreams? Where do you know that you need to bring in some flexibility into your life? Where are you having some stubbornness and attachment to things and being open minded? Maybe at this time, you're looking for like minded people and finding them. And how can you honor that as a steady progress? And how can you honor setting those intentions and maybe starting a new group in your own social circle as well? So what does a solid foundation look like for you, Cancer, in the areas of your hopes and dreams? What does a solid foundation look like for you with your friends and your friend groups? And what about those humanitarian pursuits? Is there some self worth tied up into that? Is there some setting boundaries? Are you living into your values within these friends groups at this time, Cancers? Remember to set intentions here. Many blessings. This is for Leo rising. This new moon in Taurus is happening in your 10th house of career, public reputation, authority figures. So at this time, you may feel like you need to bring in some more solid foundations around your career. How can you have more perseverance in this area of your life? Is there some leadership opportunity that's coming your way? Or is that a goal that you'd like to have? How can you take step by step action and build a solid foundation towards that goal within this area of your life? Are you finding that are you keeping your word in the area of career? How are you attached to something in this area of your life? How are you being inflexible and stubborn, maybe with leadership ideas that are coming to you at this time, or some politicking that you're seeing and you're being very resistant to the change? But actually, how can you kind of live into that with some self-awareness, and how can you use this time to find and explore what your needs are in this area of your life, and then set boundaries, find your values, and set into your career with those values and live your career by your values as well, regardless of what is going on around you. But I mean, it seems like you're with like-minded people in this area of your life, Leos, and at this time, how can you be more intentional there? There's been some surprises and some upheavals as well, but it's how can you embrace the change? Where have you been inflexible in your career? Where have you been stubborn and overly attached to maybe that goal? Maybe the goal needs to change, or the step by step means a little bit more diligence, a little bit more thoroughness and perseverance before it's achieved. Thank you, Leos. Virgo rising, this new moon in Taurus is happening in your ninth house of religion, philosophy, higher thinking, morality, ethics, beliefs, higher education, travel, foreign cultures, publishing, teaching. Goodness, Virgos. There's a lot going on here in your a great way to set intentions. Are you wanting to travel this in the next year or two? Are you wanting to take a higher educational pursuit? Are you really being challenged by the morality and the ethics and the beliefs of this time? I mean, it's very contentious energy around us. There are things like that being highlighted in your life. Has there been shocking opportunities that have come to light in the that area as well? But now is a time to find some groundedness in it. How can you how can you align this with your self-worth, with your self-values? How can you align your new educational pursuits with a solid foundation and persistence and taking step by step action at this time? How can you plant new seeds to travel or to explore for foreign cultures? Maybe your foreign travel is using your imagination more, using the inspirational side of things. Or maybe you have a dream to publish some of your writing, Virgos. Maybe you have a dream to teach as well. So, how can you take actionable and reliable, dependable steps towards your progress? How can you take steady progress? How can you be more patient and slow down in this area? Are you keeping your word? Are you keeping your word to yourself? How can you plant new seeds here? How can you expand? How can you bring in something new? So, Virgos, this is deep. This is higher mind. This could transform where your direction is going, or, really expand yourself through these areas. So, be intentional now. This is exciting. Many blessings, Virgo. Libra. Libra rising. This new moon in Taurus is happening in your 8th house. This is an intense area of life. There's some intensity here. There's some power and control issues coming up for you. There may be some fears coming up, maybe some pulls toward long-term investments, towards taxes, insurance, other people's money. Maybe you and your partner are talking about your future or your retirement. Maybe there's some debt that you've been having to address at this time. So, Libra rising, how can we, Venus is also very key to you during this time. And this Venus retrograde has really stirred up some areas of your life in relationships and of and your health and your daily routines and your co-working space. So you've really had some deep learning to do in these areas and deep reevaluating to do, and how is that affecting you now? How are you moving forward? How are you building new foundations with what you've learned? How are you being more persistent toward your goals? Or how can you create that step-by-step process to those investments, or to pay off the taxes, or to pay off your debt at this time? Or how can you lean into your trauma and psychological issues or fears that may be coming up at this time, and find some appreciation and gratitude for them, or some self-worth and value at this time? How can you not live into the fear in this area of your life, and instead live into your values, instead live into your determination, and maybe find some real actual self-acceptance of the situation that you're in, and how can we move forward from it? How can we be real? How can we be reliable for ourselves in this area of, our partner's money, our once again, our insurances, taxes? There's also, once again, power, control, fears. This is intense for you, Libra risings. This is deep stuff going on. This is a great time to plant those seeds, to invest in all of these areas of your life, to invest in the deep sense of yourself, and to that deep deep appreciation, deep self worth of solid foundations, and knowing your value. And how can you live those values even more by cultivating the foundations in these areas of your life, Libras? Take some time. This may be intense. Many blessings, Libra. Scorpio rising. This new moon in Taurus is happening in your seventh house of marriage, contracts, partnerships, relationships, the house of the other person, open enemies. But sometimes the open enemies are actually things that we don't like within our side of ourselves that we see in others. Negotiations as well. So the seventh house can, right now you're setting intentions and building new foundations within these areas of your life. Are you starting a new partnership, a new contract? Are you trying to build new goals of security and accumulation within your marriage or partnerships at this time? Are you really setting into the reliability and the patience and the dependability that you already desire within your partnerships? And how can you build some more solid foundations and perseverance and thoroughness here? But also, how can you find more gratitude for your partner and appreciation for the simple pleasures in life that you two can enjoy together? How can you two enjoy some time in nature, or how can you enjoy maybe giving each other massages and scheduling a once a month kind of date night for yourselves? How can you plant new seeds within this relationship area of your life? Are you planting new seeds for new contracts? Are you starting a company within yourselves? And what kind of ways can you be very thorough in building these foundations here? So Scorpio rising, this is a great invitation to really plant seeds and set intentions around the areas of marriage, contracts, partnerships, within your relationships, being aware of the others, and being mindful of the opposite end of the spectrum, and acquiring things of such as, the crisis and emotional storms, and the temptation and fall that you kind of find yourself in sometimes. So be mindful of that need for reliability and self-sufficiency within your relationships as well, Scorpio rising. Many blessings. Sagittarius rising. This new moon in Taurus is happening in your sixth house of diet, nutrition, health, daily routines. Also, our pets, our work, kind of service, coworkers and subordinates, and actually our workplace as well. So all of this is a great time to set intentions to go on a diet, to change your lifestyle, to change your routines in the morning, to shake things up. How can you make them more around your routines around self-worth and enjoyment? How can you make your routines more about embracing the physical senses of life? How can you bring more of that appreciation and gratitude into your co-working space? Do you keep your word at work? Do you keep your word to yourself and your diet and your routine? Are you patient with yourself and others? Are you dependable? Do you show up? Do you keep your word? Are others doing that for you at this time? Is that triggering you if they're not? Do you know what your values are? It's a time to live into them right now, to set intentions, to dive deep into the knowing of that, and to building that solid foundation of who you are through consistency, and learning to trust yourself through your daily routines, and learning to build that. What does that solid foundation look like for you at work, at home, and your health? Your mind body mindset. What does that look like? How do you talk to your body? What do you say to your body? Do you appreciate how sensual it can feel sometimes? How when you sit into the touch, taste, feel, smell of your work environment, or modify those within your health routines, and how it can actually maybe bring in another layer? of self-worth and compassion, or maybe actually bring in a sense of security within yourself without having to attain or attach yourself to any material actual thing? How can you simplify and find pleasure in this area with satisfaction and contentment? And maybe even bring in nature into your daily routines. It's a beautiful time of year. We have some beautiful metro parks in the Toledo area. Sagittarius rising, that's a great way to really embrace and maybe bring in some new moon Taurus energy into your daily habits. Many blessings, Sag. Capricorn, Capricorn rising, this new moon in Taurus is happening in your fifth house, the house of hobbies, creative expression, children, joy, pleasure, play, recreation, romance, and love affairs. Are you desiring something new in these areas of your life? It's time to plant some seeds there, Capricorn rising. It's time to find enjoyment in life through your creative expression. It's in time to find some self-worth and some values and some self-expression through your creative expression, some self-acceptance through joy, through pleasure, through romance. Maybe, feel all the feels with your partner and have a really good time. Schedule a date night. Maybe it's time to just get out and play in this beautiful weather that we've been having. Get out and use your backyard and use the nature. And how do you tend to undervalue your creativity? How do you tend to undervalue and not find appreciation and gratitude for the pleasures of life and the children in your life that, the how can you build new foundations or have thoroughness and perseverance in your hobbies and your creativity of the day to day, and find some sort of patience and dependability around your hobbies, your creativity, your play, your sporting events, the way that you love to, move your body a little bit. Maybe dance and, sing a little bit. Taurus likes to express itself through the throat sometimes. Maybe hum. All right, Capricorn risings. This is a time to really set intentions for those areas of your life with your recreation, with play, with pleasure, with romance. This should be fun when you're setting these intentions. How can you bring more enjoyment into your life and these through this area? How could you also maybe find material comforts here, or ownership of yourself, or feel possessions of self and your creative process as well? Are you taking steps creatively? Maybe there's a hobby that can bring you some financial goals in the future, or some financial independence, some sort of play or creative expression that you can turn into some financial uh, abundance at this time. So, Capricorn risings, really lean into the play and the creativity of this time. Enjoy the beautiful weather and the season that we're having here in Northwest Ohio. And many blessings, Capricorn. Aquarius rising. This new moon in Taurus is happening in your fourth house of home, property, parents, ancestry, your foundations, your roots, your culture, your tradition, your themes. So there's a need for reliability in these areas of your life, some self-sufficiency, some self-worth. That's kind of the taproot of yourself, is your awareness of your personal needs. And when you're setting boundaries and living strongly into your values, Aquarius rising, that's when you know that you have the determination to succeed, and that level of self-acceptance that you have within inside yourself, as that you're cultivating, that is living into those values even more at this time. The invitation is to build a solid foundation with those values in mind and create a sense of ownership over those values. Are you looking into purchasing property, buying a home? Are you paying a fair price? Are you taking steps towards those financial goals and that sense of self? Are there ways that you're maybe being inflexible or stubborn around the family area, your ancestry, your traditions in some way? Are you not being open-minded enough to bring in new traditions within your family lifestyle? Are you being inflexible or resistant to change in this area? Or are you realizing that with patience and dependability, that and steadfastness, that you can find that your sense of values can evolve, and maybe what the core of your values really mean? Maybe it's tradition that you are living in and not values. Is it tradition versus values? Is that, can we find some way to know whether this is something that we learned as a child and that we lived into and we thought that it was a value when it's actually a tradition? Does it align with our values, these traditions or these ways of thinking, or the ways that we've been raised? Are we living into that? And when we are, we know that Aquarius rising, that the material comfort is there, the comfort and sense of self. You've got that steadfastness to hang in there and to keep going, and persistence. But when is it time to shift? Is it time to change? Are you being too bullheaded in this area? And how can we plant new seeds in our families and our family traditions and our ancestry at this time to help with raise our self-worth, to raise our gratitude and our enjoyment of life, and the physical, beautiful sense of self that Taurus also is encouraging you to embrace. Many blessings, Aquarius rising. Pisces rising. This new moon in Taurus is happening in your third house of siblings, neighbors, your neighborhood, your immediate community, your extended family, aunts, uncles, cousins, people that you don't see on a daily basis type family. Short journeys, around your community. We live in the Toledo area here, Sandusky, all of Lucas County, Wood County, that kind of area, that, places that we can drive to in a few hours. Also, our communication, our mindset, the all of this is a great time to plant new seeds in this Taurus area of your life, Pisces rising. And the mindset, the communication, the talking, the writing, how can we find that within ourselves and find the physical senses and the enjoyment in our life? How can we be aware of our personal needs, and when our personal needs and our traveling through the community or being out in the community can lighten up our self-worth for ourselves? How can we state our needs when we're out in the community? How can we encourage others in our community to support us as well? How can we live, Pisces risings, into the values? What are your values? Do you know? Do you know what your mindset is saying every day? Do you take the time to communicate with yourself and to build a reliable mindset, to build a reliable, persevering foundation of your mindset before you travel out into your community? Do you think that everyone's out there to get you? Do you thrive off trying to get where you're going as fast as possible? Or do you realize, like, maybe we need some extra time to get there so that we're not stressed out and overwhelmed? Is it time to appreciate your local neighborhood and find gratitude in the simple pleasures of life, of the community that's surrounding you? How can we at this time maybe enjoy the local Toledo area? How can we enjoy that all these flowers are blooming in our local community at this time, and find that sense of sensuality and physical comfort within our local community and environment? How can we plant seeds to build a solid foundation? How can we plant seeds to build a solid foundation with our neighbors? How can we build some persistence and thoroughness, and how can we show up more in our community and embrace slowing down with our community, and embrace knowing that it takes time to get to know someone. It takes time and energy and consistency and determination sometimes, and strong values, Pisces rising. How can we set intentions for our own strong values to live into that? And what are they? And sometimes they shift and change. So, with this new moon in Taurus, what are they now? And how can we start a foundation within our immediate community to find some enjoyment of life, some self worth, and embrace the physical senses at this time? Many blessings, Pisces. So, that is my new moon forecast for all 12 signs. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that this helps you out there a little bit if you're feeling a little lost or feeling the intensity of it all, or not really sure what's going on. Maybe this helps put some things in perspective and into words for yourself. Astrology is a language of energy and invitations. And once again, being an empath and an astrologer, it is my joy and honor to share this energy and my interpretations with you today. And I hope that it brings you some profound peace and grace and some invitations in how to live your life to the fullest. Many blessings, my soul searchers. Many blessings to my empath friends out there who are feeling all the feels all the time. Live into your values, know who you are, so that when we get tripped up with others, we know that we can live within ourselves with peace, compassion, and love as always. I'm Kristen, your astrologer from Rooted with Wings. Many blessings. And once again, thank you so much for your time